Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to make a little set of a ring, some earrings, and a necklace using these 8mm impression jasper gemstone beads. They have purple and an aqua blue and kind of a coppery orange peach color in them. They're going to be wire wrapped, and we're going to use some artistic wire in this really pretty bare copper color, and we're going to use both 18 gauge and 24 gauge. And we'll also need some jump rings, and these are 5mm 20 gauge jump rings in copper, genuine copper, and then some copper earring findings. And we're also going to need some ribbon, and I'm using this really pretty deep purple color. The tools that we're going to need are some E6000 glue, a pair of flush cutters, a pair of wire looping pliers, the large size of the Wubbers bail making pliers, a pair of nylon jaw pliers, a pair of round nose pliers, and a pair of chain nose pliers. It is a lot of tools, but we're doing several different methods of wire wrapping, and you might be able to find other tools that work for you. These are all the ones that I used. So we'll go ahead and start with the link that you will use to build both of the earrings and also the links for the necklace. So go ahead and take your 18 gauge wire and use flush cutters to cut yourself a piece about 6 inches long. And then you're going to use nylon jaw pliers to straighten out the wire, get any bends out of it. Just run it through several times. Okay. Now I'm using this large size of the bail making pliers, and I've basically measured and found that the larger diameter side of this is just a little bit larger than the diameter of the bead that I want to use, so that when I make these different components, there's just enough room to put the bead in and then have the wire wrapping around it. So I believe this one is about 9mm or so, maybe 9 or 10, and the beads are 8. So anything else you want to use, you could find a pen that's round that is the right diameter. You could find any kind of tool or household object that's the right diameter, that's a perfect cylinder, and use that. I'm just using this because I happen to have it handy and it was the right size. So take your thicker wire and bend it around, and go ahead and bend it around and squeeze it together to kind of give yourself that teardrop kind of shape. Go ahead and push it in really well. And get that shape the way you want it. Go ahead and take your nylon jaw pliers and make sure that the ends are straight. Again. And then when you pull it off, you're going to use your flush cutters, and you want to make sure that you have the flush edge towards the project so that they have a nice squared off edge instead of the pointy edge that this side will leave. And you want to cut about 1 inch down from where your wires meet. Give yourself about 1 inch of working room there. Okay. And then you're going to take a pair of round nose pliers, and pretty close to the tip so that the inside circle is smaller, you're going to pinch the end and roll that down into a little circle, and then do the same with the other side. And then take a pair of chain nose pliers, and you want to go ahead first and just squish that flat. And be gentle. You can scratch the finish on this, the wire it is copper all the way through, so you're not going to take the finish off, but it will show scratches. And some will show, but as long as you're gentle, it won't be too bad. Then you're going to take one of the loops, put it towards the base of the chain nose pliers and hold it pretty firmly. And then you're going to just bend and rotate it and bend it to get a little spiral. And flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And you can go ahead and pull it through the opening between the teeth to bring it around. And if it loses a little bit of its shape, that's fine. You can put it back on your form when you're done. And then if your loop isn't totally flush in there, you can just grab your round nose pliers and move it a little bit. And then you want to get your shape right. Go ahead and put it back on the form. And you should end with a little teardrop with the shape loop with the spirals on the sides. Go ahead and pull the spirals a little bit away from the middle. What you want to do is give yourself space to wrap wire in there. So just pull them away just a little bit so there's space. Next, you're going to take 24 gauge wire and cut off a piece that's about 6 inches long. You won't use it all, but you want to have enough to hold on to. If your wire is not straight, go ahead and run it between your nylon jaw pliers to straighten it out. So go ahead and take your link piece and make sure that the edges in here are touching. And just grab the wire, hold it in one hand and wrap it in the other. And you want to make sure that when you wrap around, that your loops are nice and snug and that they touch each other without a lot of extra space. So go ahead and wrap around about 4 times. And if you end up with your links kind of staggered instead of together, you can use your nylon jaw pliers to flatten them out. So take both ends of the wrapping to the back and then use a pair of flush cutters to trim the wire on the back. Then go ahead and take your chain nose pliers and gently tighten up your wire wrapping. Make sure that it is nice and flat and nice and straight. And you want to make sure that your cut edges are tucked securely and neatly onto the back side. So this is the basic link that you'll have. Next, we're going to put a bead in there. And this stone comes on a strand. I just took it off of the strand so that I could be choosier about which beads I was picking. So you can go through there and find the ones that you really want to work with. I like the ones that have a little bit more of the blue in them. Some of them don't have any, some of them have quite a bit. So take a bead and then take another length of the 24 gauge wire and make sure it's nice and straight. And thread the bead onto the wire about halfway down. Then you're going to take the bead in the wire and place it over the top of the front of your little link. And we're going to wrap going towards the spirals. So go ahead and just start by pulling your wire down and through on one side and pull that nice and snug. And then we're going to actually go to the other side. We're just going to hold that in place there. And try to go directly across within the little loop there. You have some wiggle room for straightening it out later, but try to keep it as straight as possible. And I like to grab the end with chain nose pliers and pull it really tight. It will bend up the wire, so make sure that the part you're grabbing is closer to the end, because that's the part you'll be cutting off anyway. And then loop your wire back through and keep working in a tight little spiral. And go around about 4 times. Once you have about 4 coils, go back to the other side. And pull that nice and tight. And just repeat that process on this side. And one more. Okay. You're going to bend the wire to the back and trim the excess off with flush cutters. And then you're going to take your chain nose pliers again and tighten that up and make sure that it's laying nice and flat on the back. So for making this necklace, what you're going to do is make 5 links just like this. Then you're going to take jump rings and just attach the jump rings to each loop to attach your 5. Then, once you have all 5 together, take this length of ribbon and cut it in half, right in the middle. And then you're going to take the raw edge and you're going to thread it through one of your jump rings. And bring it through a few inches, about 3 inches. And then flatten out the larger piece and fold that up. And you want to go ahead and fold the end into the bigger piece, have it kind of wrap around and envelop that. Bring your loop to the end. And then tie an overhand knot. And you want to make sure that you get the loose edge encased in the knot. Now pull your knot down as you tighten it to keep it close to your jump ring. And pull it really tight. Then you're going to go back to the back. Pull down your main piece of ribbon and just trim this close using a pair of scissors or a pair of flush cutters. Just make sure you don't get the main part of the ribbon, only the tail piece. And then you will take a toothpick or a scrap piece of wire and apply just a little bit of E6000 glue just to seal that end. Make sure it's not gonna fall apart. Just a dab right onto the loose end. And you want to make sure you don't get too much and that you don't get it all over onto the other part of the ribbon because it will soak through. So just a very little bit and let that dry. And once it's all dry, you just take that jump ring there and you're going to use your chain nose pliers to attach the ribbon with the jump ring. to the end link with the gemstones. Make sure that it hangs straight and that the knotted part of the ribbon hangs the right way. And then you just repeat that with the other side, and then that is how your necklace hangs. You just go ahead and tie a bow on the back of the necklace. And that's how you make a necklace with this link. Now to make an earring with this link, we need to add this little piece here. So instead of doing this wrap just like that, you will make the spiral. I'm just taking this apart so that I can show you the same thing, but you will do that method for the 5 links for your necklace, and then you will do a slightly different method when you're doing it for your earrings. Okay, so you make the main link with the spirals exactly the same way, and then you're going to take another length of the 24 gauge wire. Go ahead and give yourself enough that you have plenty to work with. Go ahead and take your wire looping pliers and make yourself a wire loop near the end of your piece of wire. And you'll just want to put a bend in each end here so that your loop comes off like that on both sides. And then you're going to trim the shorter end pretty short. You just want a little bit of a lip, maybe about 1/8 of an inch on that shorter end. And put your wire loop back on your wire looping pliers. And wrap around the shorter end. And when you get to the end, now you're going to take this piece and attach it onto your link. So you want to go to the back side and hold that by the loop, and you want to hold it near the top, and then take the whole piece of wire around and loop that around the top of your link about 4 times and trim that off. And then you'll go in with your chain nose pliers to tighten that up. You want the wire wrapped loop part to be in the middle and your end piece of wire to be nice and tight in there. And you can also take a pair of round nose pliers or the wire looping pliers and grab a hold of your loop and straighten it out. Then you take your earring finding and you gently open up the loop on your earring finding and put it on that loop and close it up. And that's how you turn that link into an earring. So you would just make 2 of those to have a pair of earrings. Okay. Finally, I'm going to show you how to use a similar technique to make a ring to match your set. So for that, you need to get a little bit longer piece of the 18 gauge. I like to have extra, so I'm going to go ahead and work with about 1 foot. You probably don't need that much. You can play around and see, but I would rather throw a little bit away than end up with not enough. Go ahead and straighten out your wire. Okay, now we're going to make the loop for the bead. So again, just wrap it around your Wubbers or whatever cylindrical shape you're going to use, and push in to make your teardrop shape. And now for the ring in particular, it's really important to get those wires nice and straight. Because they're going to form the base of your ring, the part that goes around your finger. So try to get them nice and straight. You can put your wires to either side to go down the length. Okay, so when you have your wire nice and straight, you're going to take a ring mandrel and choose what size you want your ring to be. I'm going to make a size 7. So go ahead and wrap all the way around at the 7 mark. And bring that all the way down. Try to make that loop really circular because it's easier to do it before you put the bead on. Okay, and then you're going to take your flush cutters and trim about 3/4 of an inch up from where it meets the loop. And then take your round nose pliers and you're going to bend those into spirals just like you did on the links for the other pieces. And continue the spiral with the chain nose pliers. And it can be easier to work with a little bit at a time on each one. And you can use nylon jaw pliers to straighten that out and make it flat. If they're not quite even, you can fuss with that later. Right now, as soon as you get them to sit out of the way, we're going to attach our bead to that loop. So go ahead and put it back on your base shape and make sure that it's nice and round. And then select a bead for your ring. And take another length of a 24 gauge wire. I'm just using a scrap from before. And string the bead on. And you're going to wrap this just like you did with the other link, working towards the longer end of the main wire. And pull one out of the way and then go to the other side. And wrap around about 4 times. And go back to the other side and finish up that wrapping. And then you're going to bring both of those wires to the back. Trim the excess off. And use your chain nose pliers to tighten that up and push the wire down nice and flat so it doesn't scratch your finger when you wear the ring. And you want to go ahead and straighten out how it sits. Get it situated how you like it. And then tighten those down so that they don't move around. And then go back to your ring mandrel. And you want to push down on the end of the loop to try to straighten that out a little bit and get your spirals to meet up. And if they touch too much, you might need to bend them down, curl them further into a spiral. And if they don't touch enough, you might actually need to undo a little bit of the spiral. Go ahead and get that nice and even. And that's how you do the ring. So you can use similar methods to make these quick little links and make a whole set of jewelry out of them.